Hello my dear viewers, I'm so delighted that you are tuned in my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Teacher Jonathan Musau. Today I will take you through travel graphs which involve two travelers moving in the same or opposite directions. These graphs are very common in exams and pose a lot of challenges to learners in the exam. Simplified Maths is here to show you how to tackle them very easily. Welcome and enjoy.
Our first question says, the graph beside shows two journeys of Karimi and Zomo. How far from town X was Zomo when Karimi stopped to rest? So in this question, before we even identify anything, we just look at the lines, which one represents Karimi and which one represents Zomo. So Karimi is the one who is starting at 8 a.m. from town X, moves up some kilometers, rests for 30 minutes, continues towards point Y and reaches at this point. Then Zomo is traveling in the opposite direction. His journey starts at point Y at the top here. He moves down, rests for 30 minutes, continue moving down up to point X and arrives at 1 p.m. So it's important to know who is Karimi, who is Zomo. The next thing is to identify where the question is asking, how far from town X was Zomo when Karimi stopped to rest? When is this time when Karimi stopped to rest? So Karimi started his journey at 8, moved in a constant speed, reached here, and then this horizontal line here represents the rest, where the time is moving but the distance is not increasing. So at this point here, where the cursor now is, that is the time Karimi stopped to rest. And if you want to know at that time where was Zomo, in the next page, I'm going to explain to you how to draw lines that will help you to know at this point where was Zomo and how far he was from town X. Welcome back, and we are still in question number 1, where we asked how far from town X was Zomo when Karimi stopped to rest. You can see now I've put lines to show Karimi stopped to rest at this point where the cursor of the mouse is. And at this time, we just put a line, draw a line going up, direct up to the top, and we see where it touches Zomo. And at 10, because he stopped to rest at 10, because when you go down here, we see that he stopped to rest at 10, Karimi. So at 10 a.m., the same 10 a.m., this is where Zomo was at this point now. Then we move horizontally to see how many kilometers this represents. And when we move here, we discover that we are three squares above 200, and we have just said each small square going up represents 5. So this is 205, 210, 215. So the time Karimi stopped to rest, which was at 10, we draw a line and we discover that at that time Zomo was here at 215 kilometers. And then the final question is, how far from town X? Where is town X? Town X is down here. So when you're at 215 and you're heading to X, how far are you from town X? So it is from 0 to 215, which represents 215 kilometers. I just repeat again. How far from town X was Zomo when Karimi stopped to rest? We start at the point where Karimi stopped to rest. And this is Karimi's journey, and Karimi stopped to rest at this point. We draw a vertical line to represent from 10 a.m. when he stopped to rest. At that time, Zomo was here. We have met the line for Zomo. Then we draw an horizontal line to show us where what this is in terms of kilometers, and we see this is 215. Then we look at the question, how far from town X? X is down here. This arrow here drawn here represents how far he is from town X, from 0 to 215. That is 215 kilometers away from X. Because he has already covered this distance, now he is to cover this remaining distance, and the remaining distance is 215 kilometers. Welcome to number 2. Beside is a graph showing the journey of a motorist traveling from town L to town K and back, and that of a cyclist traveling from town L to town K. How far from town L was the cyclist when he met the motorist traveling back to town L? So the first thing is to just look at the graphs. We come with the cyclist to look at the cyclist who starts at town L at this point here at 7 a.m. travels all the way to 20 kilometers, rests for 30 minutes, continues with the journey, and then arrives at town K at 9:30. You go down here, this is 9:30. We come to the motorist. The motorist starts at town L at 8 a.m., moves straight at a constant speed all the way to town K, 40 kilometers, rests for 30 minutes, then travels back at another constant speed, arriving at 9:30, just like the cyclist. So after analyzing that, we now I'm going to use lines just as I did number 1 to show you how to tackle the question they have asked. Welcome back for us to analyze number 2. The question says, how far from town L was the cyclist when he met the motorist traveling back to town L? So we start with the motorist. He traveled towards town K and met the cyclist at this point. This is not the one we want, because at here he has met the cyclist when he's traveling to town K. So the motorist was heading to K at this point. So we continue with our journey. We move all the way. The motorist moves up to 40 kilometers at K, rests for 30 minutes, and starts now traveling back. That's the point we want to see, where he has met the cyclist. When he's traveling back, he meets the cyclist here. When he's now traveling back to L. L is down here. So they have met here when he's traveling back to town L. This is a very important point we wanted. So we want to know now, at this particular point when he has met the cyclist, how far is the cyclist from point L? So we draw an horizontal line which takes us up to here, and then we know the scale, as I've analyzed here, the scale, one small square represents 1 kilometer. Every small square is 1 kilometer, because we are just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each small square is 1 kilometer. So from 30, we continue 30, 31, 32. So is 32 kilometers away from L. The blue line shows how far he is from town L. So from where they have met, we draw an horizontal line to show us the distance, and then we have discovered this is 32, and then town L is down here. So he is 32, the cyclist is 32 kilometers away from town L. So that is how we approach that. Question number 3, beside are 2 graphs. One graph shows the journey of a bus from Nairobi to Nakuru. The other shows the journey by a car from Nakuru to Nairobi. How far from Nakuru was the bus when the car reached Nairobi? So the first thing is just to look at the graphs and identify where the bus, the journey for the bus and the journey for the car. The bus started at 7 a.m., moved to 100 kilometers, then rested for some time, then continued all the way to the top there. Then the car started at 7:30. This straight line here represents the car. The car started at 7:30, moving from Nakuru to Nairobi, the opposite direction to the bus, and starts at 7:30, travel all the way to 10:30. Well, you can see the bus was moving from Nairobi to Mombasa. The next page, I analyze now how to answer the question we have been asked. Welcome back to the third question, where we asked, how far from Nakuru was the bus when the car reached Nairobi? How far from Nakuru was the bus when the car reached Nairobi? So we start at this point where we are told when the car reached Nairobi. We start with the car from the top here. The car is moving from Nakuru to Nairobi, as we are told. Move all the way down to where it reached Nairobi. This is the time it reached at Nairobi, 9:30 a.m. And then we draw a line to represent the time it reached Nairobi. So we want to know at this time, where was the bus at 9:30? So I've drawn a blue line here, moving straight up from 9:30, moving and touches the bus at this point. So when the car has reached Nairobi at 9:30, the bus was at this point. Then we draw a horizontal line to see the distance. The distance is supposed to be at this point. And then the scale in this question is we have... Welcome back. We analyzed number 3. The question was, how far from Nakuru was the bus when the car reached Nairobi? So how far from Nakuru was the bus when the car reached Nairobi? So we start at this statement, when the car reached Nairobi. We start with the car. It started at this point here at Nakuru. It's traveling from Nakuru to Nairobi. So it has traveled at a constant speed without resting all the way to here at 9:30. That is the time it reached Nairobi. So it reached at 9:30. Then this horizontal line I have drawn here is to represent the 9:30 when the car reached Nairobi. We want to know where the bus was at this time, 9:30. So the horizontal line takes us to this point. The bus was here. Remember, the bus is heading to Nakuru. So at this point, the bus is at 115 kilometers. We use the scale because one small square represents 5 kilometers, because 50 kilometers are represented in 10 squares. So 50 by 10 gives us 5. So 105, 110, 115. But this is not the answer. This is what attracted most pupils when they were doing this exam in KCPE. So we are at 115. The bus is 115 kilometers and it is heading to Nakuru. So how far is it from Nakuru? The blue line here shows how far it is from Nakuru. So Nakuru is 150 kilometers. The bus has already covered 115. And it's heading to Nakuru, which is 150. So if you are at 115 kilometers and you are heading at 150, how far are you? How many kilometers are remaining for you to reach Nakuru? You subtract 150 minus 115, which gives you 35 kilometers, placed at choice D. So note that we are not to take the 115 because we want to know how far from Nakuru. The bus moved from this point, rested here, came all the way, and then at 9:30 it was at this point when the car reached. And at this point, we move across here, we see it was 115 kilometers away from Nairobi, and it's heading to Nakuru. And Nakuru is 150 kilometers. So it is how far is it from Nakuru? We take the difference, 150 minus 115. We get it has 35 kilometers to cover for it to reach Nakuru. So it was 35 kilometers away from Nakuru. I hope you have understood that. Number 4, the graph beside shows journeys made by Ali and Ben. After Ben overtook Ali, how long did it take Ali to overtake Ben? After Ben overtook Ali, how long did it take Ali to overtake Ben? So in this question, we have two junctures where they are overtaking each other. When they are starting the journey, the straight line, the one which is not dotted, is the one representing Ali, as you can see in the key here. The dotted line is the one representing Ben. So when they are starting the journey, the more vertical line, the one above the other one, that is the one who is ahead. So at the start, Ali is ahead. You can see his slope is more steep. He's traveling faster. So Ali is ahead, and then when they reach at this point where the two lines have met, that is the time now they are overtaking each other. So Ben has overtaken Ali. You can see now Ali is ahead. Ben is ahead. The dotted line now is more steeper. So they continue traveling. When they reach at this point, now Ali overtakes Ben again. So Ali is ahead again. So at this point where they met, this is Ben who overtook Ali. The other point where they met here, this is Ali who overtook Ben. So the next page I explain how long it took for for Ali to overtake Ben. Welcome back. We analyzed number 4 together. The question was, after Ben overtook Ali, how long did it take Ali to overtake Ben? So the first time they are overlapping each other is at this point where we have the blue line. That is when Ben was overtaking Ali. We draw a line and it takes us to 10:30 a.m. in between 10 and 11, which is 10:30 a.m. And then we move again. The next time they are overlapping each other is at this point here when Ali was overtaking Ben. Then when we draw a line down here, it takes us to this point here, which is 12:15, because from here to here it's supposed to be 12:30, and then a half of 30 again is 15. So we have from 12 to this point here is 12:15. So we subtract the difference between 12:15 and 10:30, which gives us 1 hour 45 minutes. 45 minutes, we convert it into hours. We divide 45 by 60. When we simplify, this gives us 3/4 of an hour. So it took 1 3/4 of an hour for the two to overtake each other. So the first overtake started at 10:30 a.m. at this point here. The next overtaking, where the lines are meeting, started at 12:15 p.m. So we get the difference, and the difference between 12:15 and 10:30 is 1 hour 45 minutes. When you change 45 minutes, it becomes 3/4 of an hour. It's also very important to mind about the scale used on the horizontal axis, and I've analyzed it here. One small square represents 6 minutes. If you wanted to count this number of small squares from 12, you could have done so, because you'd have said from 12, the first square is 6 minutes, to be 12 and 6 minutes. The second square, 12 and 12 minutes. Then the third one, you can see it's half the box, 3 minutes. So 12:15. So the scale is also very important. The last question I want us to look at on these graphs says the graph beside shows two cyclists, Wambua and Otieno. At what time was Otieno 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua? At what time was Otieno 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua? This is one of the questions which was failed most when it was tested in KCPE, because most of the candidates never understood what the question was saying. But I'm here to make it very simple. So looking at the line here for Wambua, let's start with Wambua. This one here, the top one. You can see from the top we move down, and then we have Otieno. Is this other line here I've shown you here. So when they are starting the journey, the one who is having a steeper slope, that is Otieno, is the one who is ahead. Then this Wambua is the one who is lagging behind. But at this point here, where the two are meeting, this is where now Wambua is overtaking Otieno. So Wambua, after they meet here, Wambua is ahead. Otieno is lagging behind. So when they are starting, Otieno is the one who is ahead. And when they meet here, Wambua overtakes Otieno. And the question is, at what time was Otieno 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua? So the next page, I want to explain this very well. Now, welcome back for me to explain to you the last question on these graphs. I've said this is one of the questions which was failed most when it was tested in KCPE, because simply candidates did not understand it. So I read the whole question again. The graph beside shows two cyclists, Wambua and Otieno. At what time was Otieno 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua? So when we are starting the journey here, who is ahead? This line here, the one who is more steeper, this is the one who is ahead, and this is Otieno. This is the time Otieno was ahead. And when they meet at this point where the lines are meeting, now Wambua is the one who is ahead. So we want to see that time when the two of them, Otieno was 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua. So we are going to use the choices starting with 10:30. For example, at 10:30, who was ahead? And 10:30 is between 10 and 11 here. So we move here, and at this where we have the blue line here, it is Wambua who is ahead. And we are not going to look at this point because we want the time when Atieno was 10 kilometers ahead. But at this point, choice A, where they are saying 10:30, Wambua is the one who is ahead, Diakombele. You can see his line is the one which is more steeper. So we skip choice A because at this point, it's Wambua who is ahead. We go to choice B, 9:27. 9:27, which is supposed to be at this point here. You remember, one small square represents 6 minutes. So to get 9:27, we move up to 9:06, 9:12, 9:18, 9:24. Then we have a box there. We go to 9:27 at this point here. Again, here it is still Wambua who is ahead. So this will not give us the right answer because we want the time when Otieno is 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua. So at 10:30, it's Wambua who is ahead. At 9:27, it's Wambua who is ahead. Even if it gives us 10 kilometers, the difference, that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for the time when Otieno was 10 kilometers ahead. So we move to choice C at 9 a.m. at this point here. And when we come to this line here, at this start of the journey, this line is for Otieno. It's true that Otieno is ahead of Wambua because you can see Wambua is the one who is having this more gentle line. So at this juncture, Otieno is ahead at 9 while Wambua is the one who is behind. So we look at 9 a.m. how far apart are they? And we draw a line, this white line which takes us to 100, the other white line which takes us to 90 kilometers. 100 minus 90 is 10 kilometers. So who is ahead by 10 kilometers? It is this Otieno. This line is for Otieno. At this time, before they met here, it was Otieno who was ahead. And at this time, Otieno was 10 kilometers ahead of Wambua. So what we are looking for is this juncture here at 9 a.m. where Otieno is ahead and is ahead by how many? We take the difference because at 9 a.m. this is where Wambua was. At 9 a.m. this is where Otieno was. Otieno was 100 kilometers. Wambua was at 90 kilometers. Now you can see that. At 9 a.m., I start from 9 a.m. going up. When I move from 9 a.m., I meet Wambua here. Wambua is at 90 kilometers. I continue 9 a.m. Otieno is 100 kilometers. So Otieno at this time is ahead by 10 kilometers, 100 minus 10. But when you come to choice B, which we have already rejected, when you look at this point at 9:27, Wambua is the one who is ahead. You can see is the one who is covering 100 and something kilometers, while Otieno is down here. So this is not what we wanted. When we come to this one, which attracted most candidates, Wambua was at 120 kilometers. This is the line for Wambua at 10:30, and Otieno was at 110. So if we draw a line here, we get 120 minus 110. It gives us 10 kilometers. But that's wrong because at this juncture, it is Wambua ahead. We want that time when Otieno was ahead, and it's this point here where at 9 a.m. Otieno was at 100 kilometers ahead and Wambua was 90 kilometers. He had only covered 90. So the difference is 10 kilometers, and that's when Otieno was ahead. Thank you so much for watching and be blessed.